Oh, hi. Everything's all blown out, and I don't know why. I don't have any lights on. Why am I so white? I know why, but also, hi friends, welcome. It's Halloween, and I'm unprepared. How exciting is that? Welcome in. We're doing very normal, very regular gaming hours where nothing weird is going on. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Bono. Happy Halloween, everybody. It's the most wonderful time of the year. So I think. But yeah, hi. Hello. It's the scary season, and it's wonderful, and I love it. Hi. I have been so stressed out today. It's fine. It's gonna be better. I've just eaten. I had some lasagna, and then I just ate a cookie, and I have some water and a soda, and I am comfy cozy in my kigurumi, and I'm hanging out with my pals, and that's all that matters. I'm very excited for stream today, but it's been a rough 24 hours for me. So there's that. I'm just happy that I have it together enough that we're gonna have a great time doing the things. I hope that everyone is doing well and that you're enjoying the Halloween today. The Halloween, I say. I am broken. It's fine. I'm just very tired is the big issue. But it's gonna be great. We're gonna play some Resident Evil Village today, and I'm very excited about it. Again, reminder, it's very normal, and definitely not strange or funny. Why would anyone think that? It's scary game hours. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just very excited to stream today, but preemptive apologies if I am a mess. As far as being able to talk and do anything. The plan is to get through the entire game. Because I think that's possible. I have been considering playing it on the hardest difficulty, though. What do y'all think? Just to give us a bit of a challenge. I do wanna, yeah. You want to do it on hell mode? Do we want to go nightmare mode? Do we want to go full real gamer hours here? I do wanna. I don't know that she is here, and it's okay if she's not. But my other throne gift came in today. My big box of Milanos. My big box of cookies came in today. And that made me very happy. So shout out to Smiley for gifting me snacks. I love snacks. But yeah. Also, hi Cyril. Hi TK. Also thanks Bono for having me up. Enjoy your D&D session. I hope it goes good. Have fun handing out candies to kids. Tell me if you see any real cool costumes, okay? / tell all the kids that their costumes are great. You gotta. But yeah, hi pals. Yeah. Like I said, I'm very tired today, but I am feeling better despite being incredibly stressed earlier. So I'm just happy to be here with my friends and get to celebrate my favorite season, even though I wasn't prepared to celebrate my favorite season, my favorite holiday. Autumn is also my favorite season, this is a fact, but, yeah. That's about all I have to say for that. Y'all wanna start this? Y'all wanna start this dang game? Let me... I think I've set this up properly. You know, for normal gaming hours. Obviously. Why wouldn't it be normal gaming time? I really hope the game's not too loud. It looks fine. Great. Perfect. This is a good sign. Yeah, I didn't test anything prior to starting, so we'll see if the game works. Do we want to play on hardcore or Village of Shadows, or just do a standard run? We can just do a standard run, but I'm like, I don't know, I'm feeling ballsy. Y'all want to see me suffer a whole bunch? Because we could do that. Fruity says Village of Shadows. Let's go. Yeah, let's get real wiggly and wild here. Did I hold on a second? Un momento. I don't think I. Okay, no, okay. We're gonna go third person mode. I think. At least to start off with. I don't know that I'm gonna, I like it. I don't know that I'm gonna like third person mode. We'll probably swap over to first person, but it is a new thing that they've released with the DLC and everything. Plus I just wanna look at a thing. Let's go!
Long ago, a young girl went with her mother to pick berries for her father, who was
Very
hard
excited.
at work. But the forest greeted them with a dark, cold silence. The bushes ached. Yet determined
I
to
trust
find
you and
berries,
Luna.
the rascal broke free from Mother's grasp and vanished into
Sorry,
the trees. Mother's worried cries faded fast.
I'm already thinking about what's about to come, and
into the forest deep.
I'm very excited.
Feeling strange eyes upon her, the
For
girl
obviously
recalled
normal
Mother's scary
reasons.
bedtime tales, and her throat
I just
became
love Village,
bone dry.
what can I say?
Then the Bat Lord appeared. He greeted her warmly and bit his own wing. Come, child, quench your thirst, he said.
You can
She
control a
drank the thick,
limb.
dark blood and smiled with joy.
I mean, this makes sense.
Passing through the grave,
2 people for the feet, 1 person for a hand, because
and
obviously
the
Ethan
air
only has
chilled
1 functional
biting cold.
hand.
The girl was shivering in her thin clothes. Then a dark weaver appeared, and with a click of his fingers, crafted mist into a beautiful dress.
I forgot how
Come,
nice this
child,
intro
warm yourself,
was.
he coaxed. So she clothed herself.
It's
and
very
smiled
good.
with joy.
It's just real pretty.
Across waters deep and ominous she went, hoping a boat she found would carry her home. But hunger's grip tightened and her heart grew heavy.
Eat that fish.
Then the Fish King appeared.
Look at
and
that big
offered
boy.
his many fins. Come, child, eat your fill. So the girl ate and smiled with joy once more. Continuing on, she soon entered the forest's dark heart. Then an iron steed appeared, bearing a beautiful golden
El Lago.
The creature said nothing as the girl approached and snatched what she thought was another gift. The
You
horse
just-
grew angry.
You
and
don't
summoned
trust
other monsters.
Heisenberg. It's a trap.
Terror
He's a
filled
bad
the
man.
girl's heart as the wild wind
Oh, I'm
rose
trying
among
to
the beasts.
Fix my
Suddenly,
chair.
a witch appeared, dark yet regal.
Let's go.
Gifts we paid for the money we took, she snarled. So more in turn is due. In a blink, the girl was trapped inside a mirror. She's asleep.
What is with the creepy story? She's only 6 months old.
A local tale.
Because she doesn't understand. Thank you. We moved here so that she wouldn't have to deal with me, remember?
There's nothing wrong with my memory. You're just being
It's not. Never mind. I'm sorry. But I'm not. I'm just cautious.
Go cautiously take your daughter to bed.
Really? I mean, compared to other people, baby is tiny.
Mother doesn't want to remember it. I can't blame her. Nothing. I'll put her down.
Oh, look at my beautiful child. Rock-a-bye, Chris, in the Ethan arms. Okay, oh god, this is beautiful and perfect. Right, you've not experienced this game before. I love pictures of tuna. They have really good choices of art. Devo, you gotta stop yelling at me back there. Oh, are these family photos? Wow. What?
3 years ago. I couldn't even imagine something like this would happen.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so totally normal, obviously. But if I were to have changed anything, it would all just be cosmetic.
You hungry?
And not necessarily affect the gameplay.
Don't
It's
get
just-
too close to me when I'm cooking, babe.
Is that a threat? Look at our beautiful child, Freya. This is my baby Rose.
Her birthday will be here before we know it.
Like, grow up fast.
Oh, I've already given myself a headache from laughing too much.
Once things warm up, we can go for a walk.
Okay. This is fine. Oh no, our baby's crying. Don't worry, baby.
Just like I said to your mom.
No worry, baby. Modded? No, this is just base game. What are you talking about? I would never mod a game. Ever. Here's the bathroom. This is bathroom, baby. Do you wanna take a swim, baby? Let's go, baby. I mean, Luna should have known what was gonna go on. This is what happens when I stream. Is things break, and sometimes it's people. I like how they've like welded baby's eyes shut.
Almost there, honey.
Holy shit. This is very good. I wouldn't mod a game. Never. Me? No. Are you... Did I just interrupt baby Chris's cry? None of this is important.
Rose is fine.
I'm sad that these are what they are. Can I turn the page? Oh, there we go. Not please. I don't want baby to have Ethan
You
eyes.
keep your mother waiting. She's scary when she's angry.
Ethan, have you considered divorcing Mia, because she's kind of the
you
worst?
worry.
Oh god, the eyes were phasing through.
Those weird fairy tale monsters get you.
Oh, what a beautiful child. Okay, I do want to change this back to not third person. Can we go first person, please? Can only be changed from the main menu. No. Okay, next time I see the save icon, we're gonna go back and change it. Yeah, it's fine. I guess let's go say hi to Mia. Very normal Mia. Mama Mia. There she goes again.
Sleeping like well, like a baby. That smells good. What's that?
Does it?
Hands off, mister.
Rip it, rip it.
It's Kayshurrr de legume. It's a local recipe.
Wow, you've gone full native, haven't you?
Local wine, too.
Why was your neck doing
But
that?
If you're gonna keep sulking all evening, maybe you shouldn't have any.
Thanks for the grip and
You
rip.
really have to stop worrying.
No. No,
It's just
will not.
Finding you in Louisiana, the pregnancy, Chris moving us here, military training, it all happened so fast, you know?
Well, at least we're all together. Rose. Now.
Very
everything's
normal.
gonna-
Seriously, think we can just forget about what happened in Louisiana?
It happened so long ago.
It wasn't that long
understand why
ago?
you are so.
This is
Mia,
fine.
Get down!
This is fine.
Mia!
Whoopsies! Hi, Saber! How's it going, friend?
Mia.
Sorry.
Oh, God. What the hell? Sorry. What? Why?
It's better than I thought it was gonna be.
Go move!
Hello, WTF is that babyface
The
baby
hell you
rage.
doing with my daughter?
Hi, Saibu. Thank you for.
Take him away.
I said, get your hands off her!
Ethan, no.
It's the like.
Rose.
Simon, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. It's just Chris. It's just Chris Redfield. I'm glad you've got internet for the night. How have you been, pal? Holy shit. Oh, that was very good. Oh.
Hey, Doc.
No, Chris is Chris. I don't. What is everyone talking
We'll be there.
about? It's very normal, very regular Chris.
She'll see us next week.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, now.
Okay.
Positive,
Ugh.
all right?
I'm gonna give myself a headache from laughing so much. Oh, this is beautiful.
Talk about anything else.
I regret nothing.
I keep telling you, it's not Rose that I'm worried about.
Well, then what are you worried about?
Oh.
Look,
Very
what else matters?
You matter, Ethan.
very good baby face.
You matter.
You know, I mean,
Mia, what are you
listen, we
talking
always
about?
talk about how
Is there
how
something you're not
hunky
telling me?
Chris is.
Come on, talk to me.
But have you ever considered that maybe he's just a big old softie? He's just a big baby.
I
We
have
just
to
need
take
to
this.
love on him that way. Just support Chris and his feelings. Oh, look, it's Chris. I don't know what you're talking about. I love hunky baby. Really gotta let go of those toxic masculinity,
Jesus.
you know, standards that we have. Hunks can have feelings too. Hunks can cry.
What are
No.
you talking about? Where's Chris
No.
Redfield? And Rose?
You can't tell me what to do. You're not my real mom.
Fuck.
What
What the hell happened to you?
Hunk is just a baby now. Please, I would love that. Okay, it has just saved, so we're gonna quit real quick. I'm gonna switch back to first-person mode. Options. First person, please. Why would we be worried about the things that I've done? It's all nice things. Listen. I definitely tried to find mods that were gonna like that would show up later in the game as well, so I didn't, you know, so they didn't all just show up. There's not a lot of things that affect late game that weren't just incredibly horny. My god, the modding community is so horny. But I think there's gonna be some nice things in there. It is all dongers late game. It's not all dongers. I don't want to get banned. Is the thing. There were so many dongs though. On a side note, I am very excited to be playing this again. And playing it on Nightmares or Village of Shadows is gonna be great. Oh, we did change outfits already. Okay, well if you if you look real close, damn it, Ethan is wearing his clothes from the 7th game. From the previous game. And I think his hands all stapled up as well. Nice! Get that internet soon. Oh. Excuse you, Crow. Stop tripping out. You're okay. It is very dark and I can't see a thing. It's fine. I just sorry. I every once in a while just stop and think and go, oh, I know what I've done. I just remember one of the many things that happen in the regular game, obviously. Because I haven't done anything to it. At all. Perfect. Nothing in here. How gross is the water? No one will know. It doesn't even turn on. Okay. Not the sandy ice cream. So it has been like a year since I've played through this. I remember most of what I need to do at any given time. But we're playing on the Village of Shadows difficulty, so, you know, I might be terrible. But that's fine. I like this game and I'm willing to struggle. SpongeBob! Horrible. Horrible. Those boards just fell on me. It's fine. It's a rat! You gotta sploot it! Pick it up! Sploot it! We're picking up the rat, not the house. Listen. I just think they're all real neat. I just think they're neat. Excuse me. Want to crawl through here? I don't know how to talk anymore. There were lots of just naked mods for a lot of different characters, and I was just, I can't say I'm shocked, but I was a little surprised. Okay, this is fine. Climb on over. Right, that's my block move. Okay, well, this is fine. Get on up. Can we get a knife already?
Where the hell am I?
It is true. Naked mods do be everywhere. Again, it's not that I was like, I'm not surprised, just disappointed. There were a lot of like really good funny ones though, so can't be too disappointed, I suppose. Sleepy horse. Can I go in here? Let me go in here. Wouldn't that be funny though? I don't know if we're gonna try and like collect as much stuff as possible. We might not. It really just depends on what I'm feeling. Because I think I've gotten most of the collection achievements anyway, so it's not like it's less achievement hunting at this point, and it would just be because we want to. I think most of them are fairly easy to get to, so you know, we might do. I think a lot of them have like upgrades that are worth getting. I don't know why I'm looking around anywhere right now. Let's go. Wait, this is where I came from? It's fine. I know where I'm going. Just trying to get a feel for the map again. Okay.
What happened?
Healing bandages. Can hear a lot of noise? I'm sure it's fine. We're not too worried about anything. Hello? What a knife. Give me a knife. A fly swatter works too. Smack! 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 Watch out, I have a fly swatter. Gonna get you.
No, no! Friendly! Friendly!
Who are you? Who sent you?
Nobody. There was an accident down the road and...
No
What's
shh.
going on?
No shh. Like a baka.
Who is?
I haven't thought about
What the hell
that,
was that?
that TikTok in a while.
What?
Please tell me you have a gun.
No, why would I?
Smack my ass like a baka. Oh!
Take it.
A ray gun? I mean, okay. You just have one of those lying around? Alright.
Hey, are you listening? Hey!
Oh. Bye, sir.
What the?
Listen, I love a shotgun as much as the next person, but if you had a ray gun, wouldn't you want to use that instead? I'm just saying. He's taking a nap.
Dead body?
He's taking a nap, Ethan. Don't wake him up.
There's more.
They're sleeping. Wow. What a cool gun. Oh.
Jesus Christ.
But wait, there's more.
What the hell is wrong with this place?
Oh. There's a dude up there. I see him. Can I? That's my hand, sir. His poor fingies. You weren't using it. It's fine.
What the fuck was that?
Must be a rabid dog or something.
No.
Oh! 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 Fuck! I have died. Gotta get in touch with some modders. Ask for it to be rabbits. Restart. I guess I have infinite ammo on. I didn't realize I had that. That's fine, honestly. That's acceptable. Right? I understand why you chose the shotgun instead. It's a bad ray gun. It also, like, it takes up the entire screen when it's reloading. Ah! Ethan! Ethan, we gotta do better than this. Please, I need you to die! Why won't you die? Jesus.
What the hell?
Okay. You know what? Even with unlimited ammo, I think that this is gonna be difficult enough that we'll roll with it. No one has a problem with that, right? And you know what? If you do, fuck you. This is how I wanna play my game. It's fine. That's I can't open that with a family photo. Bolt cutter in here, right? Yeah. I just want... Right? If that didn't just prove that we needed, like, unlimited ammo to kill an enemy, I don't know what will. I was gonna say, I don't know that I'll spam, like, any of our stronger weapons. If I do, it'll probably be the shotgun. But that's just because I love shotgun. But it's still difficult enough as is. Boys hit hard. Blocked from the other side. Dang, you can count to infinity? Yeah, just do what works. Like I said, even if y'all had an issue with it, not my problem. Hello? Don't goop on my head. Oh. Ethan. What are you doing? Got some chem fluid. Hello? What if we just shoot at them from here? Hello?
Damn it.
Sorry, it sounded like one was like right on top of me. This is a bit of a problem. Ah! Oh, how did I do that? Please die, sir. I need you to die for me, please. Okay, listen. Ugh. Heal? I don't have any health items. That is a problem. Sir, sir, sir. Okay, this is an issue. Come here. Well. This is a problem. This is a little bit of a problem. Hey, game? I can't kill the boys that you want me to do a murder on, which seems incorrect. Okay, let's make one of these. Is there... Do I have to kill him? Sir, you have to get off me. Sir. Stop grabbing me as I run by. He's very fast, and I need him to not be up in my business as much as he is. I didn't think there's a... I think I have to kill him before I leave, is the problem. Sir. Ethan? Ethan. This is a bit of an issue. Can I change the difficulty from the menu, or do we have to start all over again? I'll do it. Game settings? No. I'll have to start over, won't I? Let me see. Hold on. Did I make a mistake? We do get to see little Chris again. It's true. It's fine. We haven't really gotten that far in, have we? And we can skip everything too.
Gifts we gave, but more you took.
But now you can look at baby Chris again.
So more in turn is.
And then you can see.
Did you say something?
Nothing.
No.
I'll put her down.
Said nothing. Okay, yeah. I don't mind playing on like the hard difficulty. Village of Shadows, kind of ridiculous.
It's
Oh,
like
I can't
said to
skip
your
this.
mom, that book's too scary for you.
Okay, this is fine. Again, how far did we really get in? We've done nothing. It's fine. Also, I see that. We can consider. I want to break you.
This around. I should get
Let
rid
me-
of it someday.
Let me break it. I might do a Village of Shadows run on my own time,
Almost there, honey.
but we want to be able to get through this today, right?
There you go.
I think hard difficulty
Don't you
will
worry.
be.
I'll
Oh
be right
God,
to you.
it's horrible to look at. Hard difficulty will be manageable, right? It'll be hard, but not like impossible. Mia, I'm here. I just want to see. I want to see Chris baby now. We saw baby Chris. Although. Never mind, we're not gonna see him. No, we are. No, we aren't. Yeah, I need to not go through, like, 5, like, magazines? Bullets? Rounds? Oh, I don't know. Guns. I need to not go through 5 million bullets to kill a single basic enemy. Is the thing. Right? Alright. Ethan, I would love it if you could run right now. Have you considered running? Yeah, like I said, I want to get through the end of this in a single sitting. We'll see if that actually happens. I have been pretty tired today, but like, this is fun and delightful and I love it. And if we don't finish it today, we will, we'll try and finish it later this week. Because I think it's worth it. But I'm sure we'll get, like, pretty dang far in a single sitting. Let's go! Plus it's Halloween, and I want to hang out with my friends. That's all y'all. Y'all are my pals. Okay, get me through the bad fog. Ethan, I really want you to run, bud. I know you're cold because you're just out here in a button-up, but can you move a little faster, please? Have we considered hustling like a regular old Charlie hustle? All right, through the house. Also, I'm trying to keep an eye on my camera because it is starting to get a little dark. But I wanted the lights out. so that it could be scary. Rat! Ugh. Okay, just let me go. Let's go. Let's go. Just rub yourself on the jam a little bit. Very nice. Okay, come on. Come on, Ethan, you got this.
What did all this?
Probably a really big rat. If I had to guess. That's the wrong way. Every time. I do it every time. Knife is in the house with the man. Not before. This is fine. This is fine.
Where the hell am I?
You're just in a village. It's cool. Don't worry about it, buddy. Okay.
Maybe they're out.
They just went out for a walk. Don't worry about it. It's gonna run through, go where we need to go. Because we know where we're going now. Also, my caption stopped. When did that happen? Hold on a second. Captions. There we go. Sorry about that. Maybe I broke them because we were laughing too much earlier. How long have they not been working? It's
What
fine.
happened?
They're functional now. Please, I just want to get through to where we were. That's fine. I like how it's like in. It's in the shelf. First aid. Hey, I would like my ray gun, please. Skip. Skip. Whoa! Are you dead? No, you were just whining about getting shot in the head. I am stuck in a corner. Hey! That took like half as many bullets. What the fuck? Alright, this is much more manageable. We're here for this. We can work with this. And if we've got infinite ammo on the pistol, and I can honestly sell most of that, which means, like, I'm not gonna get nearly as much coin as I would if I went after all the treasures and stuff. But that will help with purchasing some of the things that we need to do. Welcome back, Saber. Okay. You've missed nothing except me starting over, because Village of Shadows is too much. I can admit when something's too much for me. That was it. Close that. Check that. Grab those. Get ambushed. Oof. 4 a.m. is too early. Okay, we'll still, like, save the chem fluid and everything for, health and some of the bigger ammunition. I don't know if I have infinite ammo on everything on right now. We'll find out. Where is he? Where is Guy? Guy, come in. Good. I'm glad you're able to get to bed at a decent time then.
Damn it.
Okay, where is the frickin' dude? Get in here, buddy! Reload! You need to back up and not be in my face. Got him. Great! And now we're all caught up!
Is it over?
I mean, probably not. Hello? Okay, well, I've pissed them off. So that's exciting.
Damn it.
This is fine. I don't think I can survive this. I mean, I think you can if you're, like, real good. That's not me, though. Ouch! Well, that's unfortunate.
There's no end to them.
Ethan! Please! You're dead, Ethan. You can't just... Horrible. Can you go through?
Is it
Go through! Ethan!
over?
Buddy, listen. Okay, well... That's locked on the other side, because of course it is. Because I still haven't unlocked it.
If there are any survivors out there, come to Louisa's house near the fields.
Survivors?
Ma'am. Open that. Y'all just gonna hang out up there? I don't want to piss him off, but also... Don't worry about it. Listen. I don't have to be a problem for y'all. We could just be friends. Have you considered? It is time to leave. We gotta go. Cannot be here anymore. It is real dang bad here. Listen. Oh, my internet just dropped a little bit. Stop! I'm running here! Oops. Oops. Okay. Yikes! Stream looks fine? Okay, it might have just been like a temporary drop then. A very small one. Okay, grab that. Yikes! Ouch! Game, I'm running! Game, there's only so much I can do when everyone keeps tagging me. When I run past them, you know? Well, we're dead. We're dead. This is incredibly unfortunate. I have to get down to, like, the end of the stream, don't I? Yeah, it's real unfortunate out there. Please, Ethan, open the door.
Over?
Ethan, you have to open the door. Let's reload. That just goes back to where we came from. That's also where I just died. Okay. No! Give! Here we go. Well, this is unfortunate. I have no shotgun shells. Can I craft some? I don't know how to. Lovely, perfect, great. Ow! Ah! Okay. Ouch! Stop! You can't do this! That's illegal! The fact that they can tag me as I'm running by is... Not even as I'm running by at that point. Listen!
There's no end to them.
Ugh. Can I have more ammo for my shotgun? Can you give me some shotgun shells? Hey. Hey, game. Shotgun shells. Please.
Is it
Okay.
over?
Ooh. You want me to... Yes, Louise's house. I know, I understand.
To Louisa's house near the field.
Okay, let's
Survivors?
get that shotgun. And then try to not die. me that. Give me that.
Damn it.
Give me these, and let's get out of here. Okay, let's go. Ouch! If they could all stop shouting at me, I would love that. I would love to not get shouted at. Consider.
There's no end to them.
Fuck. Leon, we keep, or not Leon, Ethan, we keep getting to this point where we talk about how there's no end to them, and then we don't do anything about it, and I think I'm gonna die before I can use this. No, we're good. Hey! Fuck. Stop! You go through there? No? Okay. Well, Ethan! Ethan, you have to stop. Go, 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 go! This is horrible. Game, what am I supposed to do? Hold on, let's quit real fast. This is incredibly rude. Bonuses, maybe? Not concept art. Extra content? Okay. Game settings is where I turn on and off all this stuff. Game settings. Infinite ammo on. Load. There we go. If I have infinite ammo on my shotgun, I will be happy. Because then I can maybe actually, like, do some damage. Ethan, you have to go through the door.
Over?
My guy. Okay, let's try this one more time. Close that. We'll steal all the stuff. Give me the shotgun.
Okay. Damn it.
All right, we have infinite ammo. Let's go. Yikes!
There's no end to them.
We're doing better. Come on. You have to reload faster, Ethan. Ethan! Okay, we need to heal. Just a whole bunch. No! Fuck! Okay, you know what? This is fine. This is acceptable. That was much more manageable. Hold on, sorry, my chair has fallen off the rug that I set it on, and it's horrible. And I'm also gonna turn on the light, because it's getting too dark in here. I cannot see nothing. Also, hi Farley, what are you doing, buddy? There we go. Okay. This is the run. It's true. We have a plan of attack. We know what's happening now.
Over.
Okay. Let's go. It was honestly mostly because I was starting to get like a bit of a headache earlier, and I think it was just because I was clenching my jaw. From being stressed out earlier, but sitting in the dark helped a lot. I still have like the remnants of a headache, but it's not nearly as bad. I think eating food also helped. It's amazing
Okay.
what taking care of your body can do for you.
Damn it.
Okay. Let's reload. That. Okay. Please. Okay.
There's no end to them.
Nice. Only temporarily, though. You'll reevaluate what's going on in a bit.
Shit.
Let's go. Got him in one. Here we go. Stop dodging! It takes me so long to shoot!
You're kidding me.
No! Oh, there comes a big man. Oh, there comes a big man. But he's cleared the way, so we can go down here now. Oh, I hear him. Here? It's locked. Shit! Yikes. Fuck. I have died. This lasts so long and I don't remember how to not... I don't remember how to get through. Ugh. It's too much. I didn't expect to get stuck at the beginning of the game.
Is it
Oh.
over?
No, Ethan, it's not over. It will never be over. Do I need to listen to this?
If there are any survivors out there, come to Louisa's house near the fields.
Survivors?
We have to, like, get towards Louisa's house, right? But, like, how do I do that? It's fine. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get there, and it's gonna be smooth sailing after this.
Damn it.
Probably. Unless it's not. Let's pick up all the things. Let's just hop on down here. Grab the scrap. Right. Ethan, I need you to not say these things right now, okay? Fuck off! Okay, let's
There's no end to them.
get up here. Reload, Ethan! Buddy, you gotta shoot when I tell you to, okay? It's not really an option, is the thing. This is horrible. Real dang horrible. Okay. Reload. The faster the better, Ethan. Consider doing this one favor for me, buddy. Okay, okay, okay. Did I? Oh my god, I keep hitting, like, all of the buttons at the same time. I got healing juice. But it doesn't matter, because he's still gonna hit me. We need upgrades on this dang gun. This is ridiculous. for a while, you know? Whoa! Oh, okay, this is the end of the fight. I understand. Horrible. That took so long. I think you have to kill like a certain number of them, but it's just, it was horrible. Hi, buddy. That's a big lad. Hello. That would make sense. That's so long, though. That took so long. Dang. We got through it, though. It's fine. Oh, her poor hand. Game, I'm ready to see what other funny things I installed. Oh, his poor hand. Sorry.
Wait.
I remembered a thing. Alright. Let's collect all this shit that I made them drop. I don't think there's too much, but you know, might as well, right? I worked hard for these bits. Woof. The boss fights are gonna be horrific. It's fine, I've agreed to this. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be great. And we're gonna have lots of fun, actually. To be fair, I am still having fun with it. It was just rough.
In life and in death, we give glory.
It'll be better once we get, like, more weapons.
Hello? You shouldn't be out here. It's not safe. What the hell? Hey, can you hear me?
It's you, the child's father.
Hey, wait. Do you mean Rose? Is she here?
Rose! Rose, yes. She is in great danger. Since Mother Miranda brought her to the village, we have fallen into darkness.
What are you talking about? The monsters?
I like your glasses, lady.
Castle Bell heralds danger. They're coming.
No. Wait. Where's Rose? Who's Mother Miranda?
The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again.
Okay, bye, ma'am.
Rose is here?
Hi, Devo. Good photos. Hi, Devo. Can I help you? Can you say hi? Yeah? Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you doing, little man? Yeah? Are you sure? Okay. If and you say so. That's Devo, and he's a good boy. We love him, actually. It's locked from the other side. Alright. We're an hour and a half in. How are we all doing? How are we feeling? We still pumped? Are we still excited to be here? I am. Right, I think I've picked up all the goats of warding. Like, I don't think there are any more to be found. I'm not necessarily gonna worry about that. Ava. I need
Guess this leads to the castle.
those circles. These. The crests. Sorry, the... the shrine with the SpongeBob. Oh, no. Oh, wowie. I regret nothing here. Alright, let's do a save. I keep thinking that, like, we're just gonna continue to see, like, repeats of photos, and then they do something like that, and it's very good. Hi, Fields. Hi. Excuse me, I'm just gonna come on through, okay? Ouch! You wanna let me in?
Close the door, please.
Door closed. They definitely didn't see me come in.
Stay back.
Please, don't hurt us.
Whoa. It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just glad to see normal
Big
people at
yawn.
last. Have you seen any other survivors?
No. They're all in Louisa's house. And she's not answering and the gate is locked.
Quiet girl. He's an outsider.
I'm gonna yawn all I want. You can't stop me.
Oh.
You can't stop me.
Shit,
I
you're
do
sitting
what
ducks in
I
here.
want.
Can your old man walk?
One of
Listen,
the
I'm
monsters
very
cut me.
tired.
He's lost a lot of blood. We have to get into Louisa's house.
Shh, quiet. Must be a way inside.
But
Stay here, be
Fruity,
quiet, and don't move until I get those gates open.
I'm sleepy. Okay. Listen. I didn't sleep very well last night. Okay, good. Glad we understand now. No, my upstairs neighbors were just being, like, ridiculously loud. Just, like, running around or something. I don't know what they were doing. And I was a touch stressed. And it's fine. I need a screwdriver. That's what's happening here. Hello? And then work was very busy today. Yeah, they were jumping up and down, shuffling left and right.
Took your damn time.
You're
I don't
welcome.
know, it would have... Whatever they were doing, which I know sounds incredibly dubious, it was just, like, incredibly inconsistent. There would be, like, loud thumps, and then, like, silence for a while, and then,
Be
like,
safe in here.
somebody was, like, running or something? I don't know, but it was, like, all night. It was
Do you know
horrible.
anything about what's going on around here?
It doesn't make any sense. Mother Miranda has always protected us.
Nobody's answer.
But here's hoping that I'll actually get some sleep tonight.
We have to get inside.
Okay, I'm gonna get us in,
Hello?
okay?
Anybody home?
Maybe a familiar voice. Louisa! Open up! It's me, Elena!
Stop shouting. You'll draw the monsters.
Julian, calm down.
Who's this?
A friend!
Stay back.
Father, For God's sake, Julian, let us in.
No, they'll smell the blood. You'll endanger us all.
My father will die out here.
That's not my problem.
What's going on?
These people want to let a dying man into our home.
Come now, these people are our friends. Go on, go inside. Come now.
Thanks, Louisa.
You're not from this village.
No. I'm Ethan.
Julian, go make yourself useful and check the grounds. I said go!
Yeah, Julian. Get out of here.
If Elena trusts you, then so do I. Come inside, Ethan.
Thanks. Get fucked, dude.
Wait here. I'll check on the others.
Okay. I'm, gonna use your typewriter. We'll just very quickly look at all these things. Touch all of the things. Ma'am, I'm waiting. Okay, well.
This way.
My, what beautiful paintings you have. It's the Super Weenie Hut Juniors! Wonderful.
Come inside, the others are waiting.
I'm coming. Do you have any cool paintings in here?
Outsiders, you're gonna get us all killed.
Quiet, Anton. He helped Leonardo and Elena.
We were doing fine by ourselves.
Please, Ethan, take a seat.
Is this all that's left? From your entire village?
All that's left. All that's left? There is no one left.
Chill out, my
Worthless
dude.
Invalid. A stupid, wailing bitch. And you drag a bloody man and an outsider in here like it's nothing?
Chill
And
out,
expect
my
to be all
guy.
Safe? There is no safe. Every sorry bastard out there has been ripped in half.
This man, though.
Tomorrow we'll all be dead. Just like her damn husband. Put a sock in it, Roxana!
That's enough! This house has protected my family for generations. And drunk or
Louisa,
not,
I think you should.
are all welcome and safe in here.
No, I think you should kick him out. He's horrible.
Can someone please tell me what the hell is going on here?
We don't know. One day we were a quiet, devout village, and the next, the monsters came and attacked us.
And that's when the Fire Nation
They
attacked.
kept coming.
Wait, Louisa. Where is your husband? Did they?
No. No, he is out there. Somewhere. He went to get help. Yes, that's it. He went to fetch help.
Yeah,
Let
about
us
that.
pray. For him. For all of us. Good idea. Come.
Birdie, no. Birdie, no.
Great ones, hear our voice. Together as one in reverence, we call on thee within the endless dark to deliver us into fate's hands.
I don't want to be part of this prayer circle.
On black wings, so we make our sacrifice and await the light at the end. In life and in death, we give you glory.
Birdie, please.
The tea should be ready.
It's a bad movie. It's a real bad
prayer.
movie.
I've heard it before. There was an old woman near the graveyard.
You mean that hag? Bitch is crazy as a bag of rats.
There is wisdom in her devotion, though. And I hope it protected her as it shall protect us.
What are you doing?
I don't think man is okay.
Okay?
big yikes.
Father!
Elena, no, stay back!
No, let me go!
That's not your dad.
He'll kill us both! We have to go!
Why? Why? Why wasn't it reloaded?
Let him go!
It also wouldn't let me switch weapons?
Elena?
I said no! Oh my god. I'm so sorry, Father.
Hey, that wasn't your father anymore.
Wowie.
You did the right thing.
See, he's fine.
Elena, no. There's nothing you can do. This entire place is collapsing.
Can we? No, can you grab the shotgun? Hey, we left the shotgun back there. I would like the shotgun.
You couldn't
Hey.
save him. He was already gone.
Hey, can I have that shotgun back?
Leave me alone.
No, we're getting out of here.
Hey,
Together.
I would love to have that shotgun again. Consider shotgun? Oh, it's fine. We have it. Okay, alright. Well, the house is on fire, so that's exciting. Let's go get the key that's in here. Is it in here? Also, can I reload this? There we go. Open. Oh my god, I have to be like right on top of everything to pick it up. Oh. There we go. Give me that screwdriver. Give me this ammo that I'll definitely sell. What are you doing?
The fire's moving fast.
Let's turn the car on. It's truck time.
What are you thinking?
Step back. We can bust out with this.
Don't worry about it. Ethan is an expert at smashing cars into things. Ethan, your car is on fire. How is the truck doing that?
I'm fine. Let me back up again.
I don't know that it's gonna work.
There isn't any time.
Think it's time we leave?
Nowhere to go but up.
I think we leave.
Grab on. Hurry.
Alright, let's get out of here, ma'am.
Let's move.
Remember how I desperately
Try not to
wanted
breathe in
Elena
smoke.
to just replace...
Thank you,
Puna!
Ethan.
To replace Mia?
You're kind. I hope your family is safe.
I do too. Once we get out of here, maybe you'll get to meet them.
Oh!
Come on. It'll hold.
Ethan, you don't know that. You don't know that at all.
That's our way out.
Thank God. But what then? The village is still full of monsters. We can't
I'll
fight
shoot them.
There's too many.
No, I'll do it. Watch
Don't
me.
talk like that. We'll find a safe house to put you in until I can find my daughter. My hunch is she's in that old castle.
Ooh.
The place is full of nothing but blood and death. And I don't want to be alone while you're... Father?
Elena,
Toasty.
No. That's not him. Not anymore.
He said my name. Father!
Wait, it's not safe!
Okay, bye! Idiot.
Stay there! Come on, give me your hand!
Ethan, go! Save your daughter!
Elena, don't give up! Reach for me!
She had so much time to do that, and she just literally just said, "No, I'm good." Fool. Actual fool.
Why is everyone dying on me?
Ethan, it happens. Don't even worry about it, buddy.
This is just too much.
She really beansed it. She did a big ol' oops. Alright.
I just don't get it.
I want to at least get to...
This place has gone mad.
I want to get to the castle,
Why
at the very
fuck
least.
is this happening again?
But we might...
Shit!
Might end soon-ish. Just because I am getting a touch tired. But I'm like super down for finishing this week. Like I said, I at least want to get to the castle and like start some of that. Hello?
Who's there? Stop! Mother Miranda! Hey!
Hi, ma'am. Hi, ma'am.
What was that?
That was Mother Miranda. Did you not hear the man? He said. He was like, Mother Miranda, no. Ethan, you really gotta start paying attention. Okay? Yeah, I would love to get through Castle Dimitrescu, but I think it's like one of the longer sections of the game. But this also means that we'll save House Beneviento for another day. Which, y'all know how much I love that place. It still scares me. The the giant baby still freaks me out. Can't say that I like Giant Baby. I like Giant Baby in that it's a real cool design and just a very well done section of the game, but horrible thing to look at.
Death. Yes. Death has visited them all.
Who said I replaced Giant Baby? I like that this skull's jaw is just wiggling while she laughs. You having fun doing your little doodles over there, ma'am? Also, if I replaced Big Baby with something, it wouldn't be Thomas the Tank Engine. Demon Crest. Be something even more terrifying, like Caillou or the Majora's Mask Moon. Don't worry about it. I would never do anything
Nothing but blood and death.
I don't know what I was trying to say. I just... What's here? Hey. Got any fish? Any fish that I can, fish? None fish. Alright, what have we got here? from the other side. Let's go.
Well. Didn't think anyone was left. You must be pretty tough. Huh.
Who the fuck are you?
Oh, you're not.
It's Dante.
Even better.
Ouchies.
Mother Miranda's gonna love you.
Local legend, Dante. I like how the jacket just does not work at all, and he's just phasing through. Or he's just phasing through it. It was either this or a very naked Heisenberg.
The man is of no real use to anyone else, and my daughters do so love entertaining foreigners.
Yes,
Furthermore, I
more or
can
less,
show
yes.
the mortal to House Dimitrescu. My daughters and I shall deliver to you the finest pearls of his
I want to see.
You mean?
Mother, shut the fuck up!
What? Where?
You mean you screw around with him in private, and where's the fun in that? Give him to me, and I'll put on a show that everybody can enjoy.
Ugh, so gauche. What do we care for bread and circuses? The man thinks suffering is assured.
Yak, if a man's dick is cut off in the castle, blah, blah, blah.
I've heard all your arguments. Some of you were less
That's a Thomas.
racist than others.
Do you like how it's just
I've
got
made my
the full, like, the engine behind her?
The man's fate is in your hands.
Mother Miranda, I must protest. Heisenberg is but a child.
Big mommy.
His devotion to you is questionable.
Oh god, the mouth.
To me, and I will ensure he is ready.
Shut your damn hole! And don't be a sore loser. Go find your food somewhere else.
Quiet now, child. Adults are talking.
The mouth is so bad.
Arguing with Miranda's decision.
You wouldn't know responsibility if it was welded
Oh,
to
keep
that
glory. One day your head will actually fit your ego.
Hey, don't I get a say in this?
Silence! My decision is final.
Oh, jeez.
Remember from whence you came.
Thank you. Huh. Lycans and gentlemen, we thank you for.
I also like how the cowboy
now
hat
let
is
the
like
games begin.
hovering on Heisenberg's head.
Let's see what Ethan Winters. Get ready. No way!
That's not how you use a sword, you fool!
10, 9, 8, 7.
It's time to go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, so that was one of the only Dimitrescu mods that I could find that weren't also exceedingly horny. It's fine, I think I prefer it to the horny ones. Whoop! Let's go.
Very nice, Ethan.
Thanks, I'm trying. That's a big man. That's a big boy. Ethan, please be careful. It's it's very good.
Still alive?
Oh, this is a problem. How do I get out of here? How do I get out of here? There. Okay. Well.
My word. You truly are as strong as they say. Oh, you didn't think I'd let you get away, did you? Gotta keep Dada
Is this-
entertained.
Is this the right spot to be?
For the
Okay.
Nothing like fresh American ground beef!
Heisenberg, I'm still alive.
Too close.
Listen. I'm
Wait,
still
do
here.
those freaks have Rose?
I am still kicking and screaming and getting through. Skellington. Isn't there? No, I can't get up there right now. Okay, that's fine. It's very dark down there. Aha! Let's go! Into the castle. Probably. Scarecrows. Very good scarecrows.
I've been waiting for you,
How do you know my name?
Anyone who is anyone has heard of the likes of you. A hero searching
Look, it's
for
the
his
merchant.
daughter. Though I must say, that castle arouses suspicion.
Yeah, and so do you.
I am but a humble merchant.
Here?
Oh, forgive my manners. Call me the Duke. Now to business. Weapons, ammunition, healing salves, anything you desire, I can provide.
What are you selling?
Seeking something.
Give me my thing.
A gift has arrived for you, good sir.
Oh? A gift, you say? Is it supplies?
Apologies, but I don't extend credit.
Okay, we've got... Oh, we've got the samurai. And a new knife. Sorry, I was processing everything. You know what? I'm gonna... No, cancel.
Securing goods is
Can
more
I...
important than anything. Anything, my friend.
Sell? We'll sell all of our handgun ammo, because we don't need that. Let's do it properly. Shotgun ammo can also go away. Yes. Trade all that for the monies. And then reload speed, please. Desperately need better reload speed. Can't do power. And if I can just get everything to reload a little more quickly, that would be awesome.
Uh-huh.
Actually, yeah. I should have done this previously. But I didn't, so we'll do it now, and then we'll sell the handgun ammo and the shotgun ammo because we have infinite amounts of that. Great!
What are you buying? Just something an old friend of mine used to say.
I forgot he had that voice line.
I look forward to seeing the fruits of your exploration.
Oh, I love it. I love the Duke. I'm kind of sad that they, like, made a version of him, like, one of the main baddies in the DLC, but, like, I appreciate the fact that they clarified that it's not him. My God. This art, though. That was good reveal. Well done. Old and brash. Okay. Yeah, so we'll... Again, I apologize that we're not going for nearly as long as I had hoped we would. We'll do a bit of stuff here in the castle because I like it. We'll see how far we can get, but we will probably end soon. Because even though I ate before streaming, I think I need a little bit more food. Because I did not eat a ton. And there's a lot of other stuff that there's more to this stream that I want to do that we can encounter later on. Even with it being more difficult, I am having a lot of fun with it. I don't know, there's like a part of me that's really just like appreciating the challenge. Because the last time that I played through it, like I said, like I did my speed run, and I did that on standard mode, but I got through it pretty easy. Knowing where to go helped with that a lot. What are you doing? Oh, it's a cutscene.
What the?
Some of the voice lines aren't gonna work here, but... Oh look, it's the Dimitrescu brothers! Who are all oddly quiet. I'm sad that the voice lines don't work, but the mod did say that that might be the case. I think one of them's functions.
You are so kind to me, daughters.
Oh God. Right, the Patrick painting in the background.
Let's take a look at him.
Oh.
Well, Ethan Winters. You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you? Let's see how special you are.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God!
No! Starting to go a little stale. Now, daughters. First, I must inform Mother Miranda.
These boys are very pretty.
There will be enough for everyone. Udama.
Oh, jeez.
Let me down!
Oh, be careful what you wish for, Ethan Winters.
Oh, that fit. Sorry.
Wait, what are you doing?
Listen, it's no secret that I love Lady Dimitrescu. You have to forgive this one. Ethan? There we go. Okay. It like wasn't letting me look up for a second. Ethan, your poor hands. Ethan, your poor hands.
You crazy witches.
It's constantly like seeing Patrick out of the corner of my eye. That is really just sending me more than anything. This good goop. Patrick. Please. Okay. Is there anything else in here that I can steal? Like this glass? Perfect. Why does that look like that? I do have a lockpick. I don't need that, but okay. Examine. Can I not? Okay. Maidens of the Harvest. I cry. I know what that's from. Is that time SpongeBob and Patrick fucking died? Rats. I wanna sploot them. Let me sploot them. We got scrap. Hello, sir. Where was that on you? Okay, well. Where am I going? Where am I? Where am I in the castle right now? Okay, so this is where we just came from. But let's go ahead and unlock it. Great. Perfect. Give me that chem fluid. Give me that crystal fragment.
Where have they taken Rose?
Okay, now we gotta find the masks. But first...
Oh, we meet again.
Duke?
Hi, Duke.
Why are you here?
Where there's
Merchant
coin
Duke.
to be made. And have you found your daughter?
No.
If she is truly here, the lady of the castle would have kept little Rose in her private chambers, would she not?
Dimitrescu?
The very same. Why don't you take a look? Maybe you'll get lucky. And speaking of looking, care
Sir?
to make a purchase?
Sure, but also I like your pictures.
Oh, yes.
Alright, crystal fragment, crimson glass, shotgun shells, handgun ammo.
As
Yes.
always, a trustworthy, fair exchange.
Anything else that I can get? I mean, I'll grab these because they're free. Oops. Let me... Yes, I would like to increase rate of fire. Okay, cool. I need these. I mean, I guess I don't need the shotgun shell one. Extra baggage would be nice, though. It's 10,000, though.
Pay me no mind. Till next we meet.
I do want to get those because they're worth a lot, as much as the little labyrinth puzzle drives me crazy. It does in, like, the best of ways. Okay. Outside? We go outside? This... No, that goes back to the front entrance. Listen, I just played this map not too long ago. I should be able to remember where things are. It's locked from the other side. Assuming I can get anywhere. Give me that. Maybe we go upstairs first. Maybe that's what happens. Beautiful. Any more shiny things anywhere? Oh. Oh, I have to... No, I remember. We have to do that. And then I can do this. Right, I can't just... can't just shove the marble inside the ring into the hole. Right, before we go down this bad hallway, because I know what happens when we go in there, let's finish looting this hallway. Nope, we gotta get the wine for there. More chem fluid, you love to see it. I appreciate getting all of this chem fluid, because then we can make lots of health items. But first, there we go. Gotta get my little charms. Gunpowder. What's in here? Nothing that I can access yet because it is locked. Understood. All right. Oh, can't see the flies. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, I don't know where you are, is the thing. Oops. Not me clicking outside of the game. It's fine. Down we go. Yeah, the boys are invisible, and that makes me sad. I might have to turn off this mod. Might have to find a different one. There were a couple of other ones that I could use, but this one seemed... I liked this one. I liked having brothers instead of sisters. Okay. Yeah, we need the Visible Boys mod. Ideally with visible clothes. Yeah. No, I think I found, I'll wait. Well, we'll see how far we get through this one, and then... Because if we, like, get through the castle, which I don't think we will, but if we... This is locked, right? Yeah. No! No, it is. Yeah, we'll wait. I'll wait to tell you about the ones that I found. There were some non-horny ones that were neat, but not quite boys. I did it. Easy peasy. Ethan, it's very dark down here. Do you have a flashlight? Thank you. Ethan says, I use the flashlight. I don't get to tell him when to turn it on. He decides when to turn it on. Which, fine. But just turn it on then. In a timely fashion, please. Is there anything in here that I can steal? Absolutely not. Perfect. In here? Maybe? No, just more notes. Excuse you, corpse. Is that hissing I hear? Oh, right, there's enemies down here, aren't there? Metal scrap. Hello? Michael Myers! Great! Oh, jeez. It's incredibly wiggly. It's all those years of getting kicked around. He's just lost his balance a little bit. It happens. Listen. Old age, it's catching up to him. Hello? Ew! 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 Oh, I didn't like that! Oh, I did not appreciate Michael crawling out at me from a wall. No, thank you. Oh, jeez. Hello? Okay, let's just reload. I don't know, there's something just very satisfying about this. Ingrid's necklace. Here, of all places? Okay. Give me the rusted scrap. I do love that it, like, doesn't really faze them. Like, they react to it, but it's not like it really stops them. I don't know, that seems very, very on brand. Okay. How do we get out of here now?
I can't believe Cassandra caused all this mess.
Hi! I wish they all had voices now!
You're tonight's main dish.
Please, I need you to not laugh in my ear like that. Excuse me.
I need blood. Warm.
It was very good. I'm sad that it doesn't always work, though. Aww. I need to hear you stupid man thing in an...
Move your hands! Impertinent man!
Okay, we're getting some of it. It's so loud. Sir?
How dare you bare your teeth at us! Give up! Not like this. This can't be! I don't believe it.
We did it! Oh! The way it changed back so quickly. I'm so sad that, like, the voice lines don't always work. They do need to work on the audio levels a little bit, because, oh god, was that loud? But, like, when it worked, it sounded good. Dang. I like that. Mod definitely needs a little fine-tuning. But, oh, I was like, why can't I see it? And it's because the item is modded, and so it won't load in the parts properly. But that's okay! We have an upgrade. Give me that. I think this is just ammo. It's probably just ammo, which I don't need, but I'll still get. Oh, it's a statue. More money! Okay. I don't have the key for the outdoors yet. It's the courtyard key, I think, is what I need there. So we can get back in here. Well, that's exciting. Can I go see the Duke? What art? Ooh, that frame rate drop, though.
I've expanded my services. Please, come take a look.
Cool, I have things to sell you.
Shall I choose something for you?
No. Crystal fragment, crystal skulls, crystal torso, wooden angel, Ingrid's necklace. Handgun ammo. Handgun ammo. Take it all.
I believe this is a...
And then, oh,
Till
can
next
I?
we meet.
Oh, it doesn't have the skin on it. That's sad. But it's a better knife, though. I'm not really using the knife for combat, so I'll keep our shitty fly swatter. Oh, I wanted to upgrade weapons. That was, like, the main reason for going in there. Okay, well, let's do that.
Feel free to peruse.
Gunsmithy. Yes. And yes. Do I really want to upgrade the Lemmy? Not really. Don't need that, but I will purchase that. And landmines will be next, as well as extra space in our bag. We haven't really, like, had any issues with having enough space so far, but I'd much rather stay on top of that, especially since we're, like, selling all of our lower grade stoof. Ammo. Yeah, my brain is leaving my everything. Courtyard key. Let's... I want to do the courtyard, but I think I need to stop here for now. So we will save. And we will pick this up on Wednesday? Does that sound good? I need to get a little more food in me. And take a minute to stretch. Do all that good stuff. I would like to exit game, please. Yeah, we'll continue Halloween. As previously discussed, we'll do some more Halloween shenanigans into November, just because we didn't really get to do much of anything this month. And I would like to do... I would like to do more Halloween stuff. So we're gonna do that. That's gonna happen. But we've streamed for almost 2.5 hours, which is one of the longer streams that I've done since getting back. So I'm pretty pleased with this, especially with like how little sleep I got yesterday and how much work I did today. So let's find somebody to raid into so we can continue on with our very fun, wild Halloween nonsense. Y'all wanna go say hi to Ghosty? Ghosty is streaming some DBD, but it's her birthday. Yeah, let's go say hi to Ghosty. It's been a minute since we've seen her. Oop, that is not how you spell subraid. And it's birthday stream. And we like wishing our friends happy birthday. So yeah, we'll do some more silly fun. Oh my god, sorry. Some silly wild. Yeah, my brain has just completely left. We'll do some more Village on Wednesday. And figure out what's going on from there. As it's been, stream times will still be very variable about when I can do them and how long I can do them for, but I am feeling more settled into everything that's going on. I just need to get a little more used to working 40 hours a week, but I think I've got like a good way of handling that. So going forward, we'll see how it goes. Until next time, take care of your dang selves. I love y'all. And we'll see y'all later. Happy Halloween.